Personal karma is called special karmic payback zone. Therefore, open up completely. No grasping on its own completely, so that it will break through, releasing out completely. In the way that no grasping is on its own, this will be the purification of the emptiness, brighten out in the way of purification. This will be suitable for you to bow down to all the Buddhas, all the great compassion. So open up completely. Discard the discarding itself. No grasping on its own without limits constantly. Discarding on its own, it indicates that it's not being specific with just any conditions, any symptoms, any states of mind, or anything whatsoever. It is the boundlessness. Discarding the discarding itself is the boundlessness. No grasping on its own is the boundlessness. It's not being specific to any certain extent already. This will be constantly purified through the Mahasunyata. This will be suitable to bow down towards the great compassion, following the great compassion accordingly. This is not just about taking your beat and count on it. They're competing also about the sizes of the beads as well. How big it is, how small it is. Mai has no limits, it's not just Mai. Therefore, you must open up completely, break through earth, air, water, and fire, and the space. In the way that is not limited to a certain extent, it's impossible to be limited at all. The boundlessness has no limit. Let's be appropriate and suitable for bowing down towards all the Buddhas, all the Mahaparami. Not just bowing down and then taking into oneself every time, taking into one's own mind, one's own brain, one's own skull. Let's brighten out like the great compassion. Mai in the way without limits, breakthrough right away. Purify without traces right away. No grasping for the non-grasping itself in the way without limits, purifying without traces. This is called purifying through sunyata. This is not about empty out of anything. Purify through the emptiness. No grasping for the non-grasping itself without limits. Simultaneously with the whole samsara. This is not about emptying out from anything. Purify through the emptiness instead. Bowing down to the great compassion, then let's become essence of the great compassion. A little bit, Then it will be lightened up. The burden for the Mahaparami. Luang Po is direct, talking directly to us. Let's lessen the burden from the Mahaparami. Let's not be stuck with just one's own colors, one's own temple, one's own abode, on and on. This is not suitable to bow down the great compassion at all. That which is boundless. Mind even from mind itself. Mind is not about anything within mind. It doesn't grasp for mind itself. Mind has no limits. Mind means boundless. That is called mind that doesn't grasp for mind. This will be by the essence of the great compassion of Mahasunyata, purifying onwards, constantly, continuously. Let's not be engrossed with just one's own limits. That which is boundless. Huh? Let's be appropriate and be suitable for the great compassion, towards the great compassion. Remind with the boundlessness not to be limited to certain extents inside or outside, not to be limited to anything whatsoever. The discarding itself is not limited to certain extents. It's not just about discarding either, because discarding is discarding itself. Therefore, it has no limits. It's the boundlessness, discarding itself. It's not about an act of discarding or not discarding anything. It is the boundlessness. Mahasunyata, purifying through the emptiness continuously. This is called the great compassion. Continue with discarding on its own. Continue to dissolve and purify. Discarding, the discarding itself, not attached to the non-attachment itself. No grasping for the non-grasping itself. That which has nothing to do with discarding or not. That which is not relevant to mind or not mind. Let's proceed simultaneously with everything with this essence, so that there will be no traces in purifying through the extinction and the emptiness. There is no need to wait for faith, having faith or not. Let's purify without traces, without having to let the beings acknowledge about the blessing. The knowing cannot support anything. That which is not even know itself. It's impossible to use knowing to be there, to support this, because it's going to be a delusion for yes and no right away. That which is not relevant to yes or no, child. That which is not relevant to mind or not mind. That which is not relevant to mind or not mind. Let's proceed simultaneously with everything, with all the atoms within the physical world, whether it's samsara or not samsara. Nibbana has no separation, whether it's samsara or not, whether beings or not. Nibbana has no distinguishment between the worldlings or the noble ones, whether they are arahants or not. No separation here. Nibbana is not even Nibbana itself. Emptiness is not even emptiness itself. Therefore, there is no separation whether it's arahant or not. The separation happens afterwards. Samsara and Nibbana has been separated afterwards. True Nibbana has no separation, has nothing to do with having faith or not at all. True Nibbana has nothing to do with involvement or uninvolvement. Uninvolved even within the uninvolvement itself. Therefore, the word simultaneity is the made up of the great compassion to purify simultaneously. Uninvolved even within the uninvolvement itself, with everything. This is not attached even to the non-attachment itself, with everything, to be proceeded simultaneously. This is the great compassion, simultaneously purifying for samsara, to help samsara. Uninvolved even within the uninvolvement itself, that which is boundless. Let's proceed simultaneously with the essence in all directions, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Let's purify without limits, without traces, instantly. There is no need to wait for having faith or not, whether being humble or not, taking or not taking. It's not about gaining or not gaining anything. This is purifying through the emptiness. It has nothing to do with anyone who receiving or not, anyone having faith or not, being humble to this blessing or not. It's not about grasping. Purify without traces through the emptiness. The blessing is like there is no need to wait for timing, for any periods, whether anyone to invite this blessing or not. There is no need to be waiting for all the invitations for anyone to invite. Uninvolved within the uninvolvement itself, the boundlessness. No is not even no itself. This is the boundlessness. Not separating Nibbana from heaven, from hell, from realms of existence. The beings are not, no separation at all. Uninvolved within the uninvolvement itself has no separation at all. There is no titi, no opinions or meanings. Why being deluded to separate anything? This has nothing to do with titi. Uninvolved within the uninvolvement itself is the titi that purifies titi, is the kind that is dissolving titi. Therefore, there is no separation further or distinguish from anything further. The delusion in such a way, because there's a lot of samudaya of titi, deludedly seeing, deludedly knowing. There's a lot of connecting in seeing, in knowing, always relating to opinions and meanings. Uninvolved within the uninvolvement itself is the purification without traces in an instant. This has nothing to do with any Buddha's followers or any periods of time. It's the same essence, purified without traces instantly. With everything, no grasping on its own completely, not attached to the non-attachment itself. This is the conditions, states of mind or Dhamma doesn't grasp for itself. Elements or mind doesn't grasp for itself. The perfection doesn't grasp for itself. Meditative power doesn't grasp for itself. Let's conclude with this essence. Conclude through Nirodha and Nibbana thoroughly. Sila is not about taking in itself. If it is, then it becomes Sila Pata Pramad. This is having blind faith with Sila, with discipline. Sila doesn't grasp for itself. Mindfulness is not about grasping for itself. Otherwise, it is defilement within mindfulness. Attachment with mindfulness. Defilement in vipassana. Use terminologies correctly. Defilements in vipassana is attachment in the mindfulness, grasping for mindfulness. But they practice for attainment through mindfulness. So what is this? They begin reading for grasping. So in terms of practice, it's wrong. They begin with grasping in reading. Therefore, behaviors after that is wrong. University of Delusion. Actually, the university is not having delusion, but the one who teach in universities having delusion. Always grasping. That's why it's cover up the truth. Even they read the truth, but they cannot practice accordingly. the word is cutting directly, but when there is grasping, it becomes a fixation. Be thorough with the essence of mind that doesn't grasp for mind. Mind that is not mind. The emptiness is not emptiness. The emptiness that just grasps for itself. That which has nothing to do with being empty or not. Whenever you related to this, using Titi to relate. Titi related involvement within Titi itself. This is yes to the no. No is not no itself. No is being deluded to no. Is not enlightened to the truth that no is not even no itself. When you use no to no, then it's already not correct. Cannot. No is not even no itself. Therefore, the attempt to know, that is a delusion to yes within the no. You must listen well. All those who create thesis will be confused now. Trying to use something that is not about anything to interpret, this can break the brain. Go to hospital right away. Emptiness is compiled in a thick textbook. How can it be like that? Being empty until it's not empty, huh? Use Titi towards that which is not Titi. Therefore, it becomes suffering and samudaya within Titi, within opinions and meanings. That's why there are arguments, even in parliaments, you see. They throw shoes to each other. Everything can be vipassana kilet. It is the kilet within vipassana. It defilements within vipassana. Within the reading. Within everything. There is no such thing as neutral minds. Whenever it becomes mind, Klang means center. But it is zone, zero, empty. Sunyata, sunyata. zero. This is not zero as the round drawing, not in the kind of digit numbers of zero. That's not. It's sunyata, emptiness that is not even emptiness, emptiness that is not emptiness. Be fixated with mindfulness. It's like beginning. You're gonna start with practicing for mindfulness, and that's dragging on. It will be the continuous defilement within vipassana. Trying to gain emptiness is also vipassanukile, defilement in vipassana. Even emptiness, grasping for emptiness, trying to attain emptiness. Therefore, conclude within the conclusion itself, purify the purification itself, end the ending itself, cease the ceasing itself, that's it, only. Let go of the letting go itself, give up the giving up itself only. Then it will not become vipassanukile, cease the ceasing itself only. It will not become defilement in vipassana. The attempt to let go is vipassanukile. The essence of the Buddhas, Mahabodhisattvas, Arahants, Maharahants, absorbed within every atom within the physical world to purify ditthi and delusion of samsara. There is no such thing as future. There is just the desiring that is struggling to get something in the future. There is just anatta. The present doesn't exist. The present doesn't grasp for the present. Future doesn't exist. Nibbana has no separation at all from anything. They just made up this sentence, that sentence, and being deluded. Therefore, there is grasping for every sentence, unable to grasp even that. Just using memories occasionally. Sanya or memories doesn't grasp for itself. It's temporary and deludedly grasping occasionally, trying to memorize is anatta within itself. But when there is a delusion to grasp,